The blueprint, study my movement, more than the 2 cents. Was losing, now I'm oozing with success. Now I got the tools to beat the stress. I lose cause I'm a step ahead of you.
Welcome to 3 Count Commentary. Today we're going to be talking about NXT Worlds Collide from September 4th, 2022. Alright, so by the time this review comes out, this event will be 2 or 3 days old. There's so much going on in wrestling right now. I'm gonna have to put this review off. So, boy, okay. Let's talk about it. Good show. You know, really enjoyed it. Above average in some spots, but I think that it's a solid 7.5 show. I really enjoyed some of the angles. Let's get into it. Ricochet versus Carmelo Hayes. Tremendous match, kicked ass. Exactly what I thought it would be. But I was supremely annoyed in the way Ricochet works. And he kind of dragged Carmelo Hayes into that too. And I know Carmelo Hayes sometimes does it on his own, but this always is a Ricochet, Will Ospreay, Young Bucks thing. Where they'll throw 100 kicks or strikes and it won't sell anything. They'll stagger. And I keep saying staggering is not selling. If you get kicked in the face with a straight, you know, kick to the face, sell it. You know, at least, you know, Ricochet would go down sometimes. So, you know, the Young Bucks would just go oof and turn around in a circle and come back. At least Ricochet is smart enough to go down sometimes for like a knee to the face or something like that. But, I hate that so much. I hate the staggering, not selling thing, you know. If you're not a giant, you get kicked in the face by somebody, you should probably go down. Anyway, the match was very spot heavy. You could tell, especially early in the match, but it wasn't excessively choreographed. You know, clearly they were choreographed, but they were not excessively over the top choreographed. It still looks like 2 guys in a competition. It just happened to be 2 crazy athletes in a competition, doing things that are extremely athletic. Okay, I can buy into that. I actually like that. But this match also was still pretty physical. You know, still some pretty hard chops, some kicks that made contact, kicks that looked pretty hard, like, you know, Ricochet's penalty kick still looked pretty good. So they looked like they were 2, I guess you could say 2 cruisers with heavy hands and heavy feet. They were actually making contact. And so this was good. This was a really good match, and I particularly loved the finish. I loved the finish. You got Ricochet goes up for a shooting star press. He lands on his feet as Carmelo Hayes rolls out of the way. And Carmelo Hayes, cat-like reflexes, catches him in a small package. 1, 2, 3. Great finish. Didn't kill Ricochet. Kept Ricochet, you know, looking good. Put Carmelo Hayes on the ropes. It came across kind of fluky, but it was still not particularly the cleanest of victories, because there was still some Trick Williams chicanery outside the ring, but not at least not at that particular point in time. So I love this. Hopefully they run it back. Hopefully they'll do this again, because I like this one. This one was very good. Carmelo Hayes, we'll talk a little bit more about his future later, but I think Ricochet should stick around for a little while, you know. You know, I think he should stick around for a little bit. Go for the big belt now, you know. That's what I'm saying. You know, we'll talk about that later too. So, Roderick Strong is laid out, you know, it was like Street Fighter, you know, go home and be a family man. He's laid out in the godforsaken hell zone that is the NXT parking lot. The most dangerous area known to man. It's back. It was being nice for like the last couple of weeks, trying to lure us into a false sense of security. And then all of a sudden they dropped a band hammer on Roderick Strong. They just smushed him. Another unseen attack in the parking lot. Ivy Nile goes to the hospital, underlined, italicized hospital, with Roderick Strong, because we don't know who attacked him. The Creed brothers are extra motivated now to win and unify the NXT and NXT UK Tag Team Championships. It leads us into match 2. Josh Briggs and Brooks Jensen versus the Creed brothers versus Gallus versus Pretty Deadly. Pretty Deadly, the winners of the match. Perfect fucking decision. The Creed brothers are the final team in the ring with them. I particularly love the move that they did where they pinned Gallus or Wolfgang, where it was an elevation where Wolfgang was on the shoulders of a Brutus Creed. Or was it Julius? It was probably Julius. While Brutus did like the cannonball from the top rope. So it looked like he got, elevated to get hit with like one of those balls, like a crane or something like that. So it looked pretty cool. The finishing stretch was tremendous. I love that it told a really good story. It came full circle. Pretty Deadly was feuding with the Creed brothers when they came in. They won their first championships from the Creed brothers. They also lost the titles to the Creed brothers. And now they've run them back from the Creed brothers. The suplex spot between Blonde, Pretty Deadly, I don't know which one that is. I'm sorry. I love these guys. I can't tell them apart. And Julius, I learned who he is because I actually care about him now. And where he went down to one knee and was still holding Blonde, Pretty Deadly upside down. I believe it's Elton Prince. I believe it is. And he's lifting him back up, like got him into the suplex, which like came off of his knees. That was a great spot. That was great. That was truly an awesome spot. I really thought that was a top one. That was a top spot right there. The finish. Julius is fired up. He's looking to finish the job on Pretty Deadly. All of a sudden, Damon Kemp hops in the ring, takes out black-haired Pretty Deadly. The crowd is going ape, even though that's completely cheating. And he then picks up a chair, hits Julius in the back with the chair. Damon Kemp has turned his back on the Creed brothers. He's turned his back on Diamond Mine. He costs the Creed brothers the tag team championship. Excellent. That was excellent. That was really good because I really wasn't thinking about him turning heel. I hadn't really considered it. Hadn't really thought about it. He's kind of been like the spare tire of the group. He hasn't said much. He hasn't done much. The Creed brothers were focused on Roderick Strong and all the stuff that might be going on with him. They didn't look and pay attention to that perhaps it was actually Damon Kemp that was trying to sabotage their careers. So that was good. That was a great turn, unexpected turn. I learned from the dweebs that Pretty Deadly are now the first ever 4-time NXT Tag Team Champions. They have been NXT UK Tag Team Champions. This is their second time. And they are 2-time NXT Tag Team Champions, which makes them technically the greatest NXT Tag Team of all time. Yes, boy. And more than that, I actually don't mind their pairing with Lash Legend. I actually don't hate it. She looks like she fit with them now. She looks less like a drag queen now. She's in a role that makes sense. She's not, being extra Wendy Williams, over the top stereotype from something else. She comes across like, a sort of upper class girl that hangs out with these two weirdo white dudes. And it fits, she had the go-go boots on and everything. It was kind of funny. I like the pairing. It works. As long as she's going to be a manager of Pretty Deadly, I like it. Or they can talk, they can cut their own promos and they're pretty good at that. But just let her add some of, the color and the flavor that she can do with Pretty Deadly. And I think it works. I think you got a great package there. Briggs and Jensen, by God, I'm glad they were eliminated first. You couldn't have made me happier. I loved everything about this. Matter of fact, I shouldn't say that because I didn't think the match was that great. But I loved everything about how the match was booked and angles and some of the spots and everything. I thought it was really good. I'm not really a big fan of Fatal 4-Ways, especially ones where the rules break down and we don't know who's going where and who's doing what or why. We've just got guys flying all over the place. But Pretty Deadly winning, great job. The heel turn, also a great job. NXT UK Women's Championship. A solid match. Mandy Rose defeats Meiko Satomura and Blair Davenport. Everybody tried to tell me, Mongo, Blair Davenport is just in this match to take the pin. And I was like, la 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 la. Put my fingers in my ears, la 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 la. And y'all were right. Blair Davenport was just in this match to take the pinfall. Mandy Rose. My goodness. I mean, just thinking about her evolution. I could probably just do a video on the evolution of Mandy Rose. But she is a completely different performer than she was, I don't know how many years ago. And I can say she was just a girl on the roster, kind of a jobber, until she started working with Goldust. And that was a mixed match challenge. And Goldust really put her over. Like, I remember, you know, seeing some of that stuff, and Goldust was doing like the Hollywood Blondes camera thing, and Mandy Rose was playing into it. That really kind of started giving her some confidence. And that started to create a persona around Mandy Rose. And that's when they started going with the whole Golden Goddess thing. She still wasn't very good in the ring, but she looked great. And they didn't push her, even though she looked great. They knew she wasn't very good. But they kept her around to do some character stuff. She of course started learning a little bit more about her character work, leaning more into that with the Otis stuff, and then the stuff with Mandy Rose. She is Mandy Rose. The stuff with Sonya Deville, rather. Of course, that was all interrupted by the Stalker and everything. But since she's been in NXT, Mandy Rose is like a completely different person. All right, she's comfortable in the ring now. She's uber confident. She's over the top confident. And now her skills have gotten to the point where she has believable offense. More so than Liv Morgan. More so than most of the other chicks I watch see wrestling out here. Mandy Rose has believable offense. She's super fucking hot. She's confident. She has a voice. And everything works. I don't see how you could have Toni Storm on your roster and say to yourself, I'm going to leave her as is, when you have a perfectly fine example of what Toni Storm should probably be, except for on your roster. And that's Mandy Rose. You know, Toni Storm should be AEW's Mandy Rose. No, she's not as buxom as Mandy. She's probably not as charismatic as Mandy. But that attitude, how she carries herself, we need to be leaning more towards that for Toni. All right? If she's going to be like this cover girl, you know, for magazines and OnlyFans and all this kind of stuff, that should be, you know, the gold standard of what we're looking at in terms of how to project a pretty girl into a wrestling thing. Because she's a credible wrestler, but she's also photo ready at all times. You know, so, you know, she's not walking out of there missing teeth and with a busted lip or anything like that. That ain't her style. That ain't what she's going for. You can add those elements to Toni Storm. She has a little bit more of that Japanese wrestling influence on her. So may be able to, you know, show a little bit more toughness on her side. But Mandy is not sort of the diva that everybody thought that she was. So I think that her evolution has been tremendous, you know, and she, to me, is the second best women's champion in the entire business behind Bianca Belair. And to be quite honest, she's creeping up on Bianca as Triple H took over and Bianca's profile has come down a little bit. She hasn't been the focus of the women's division in a while now, since Triple H took over. So it's been about a month and a half, maybe, you know, but Mandy's stock has skyrocketed. She's far more credible than Liv Morgan. She's far more recognizable. You know, she might not be the workhorse like somebody like Jordynne Grace is. But when you talk about somebody who has star potential, star power, somebody you could put on a poster, somebody you could put on a billboard and say, come see her. People will line up and say, absolutely. And she's not, you know, fully Sable, where it's all based off of her look. She actually has decent to good matches too, and that's all you really need. She doesn't need to go out there and have 5-star classics. It ain't necessary, you know? In fact, it may take away from her if she starts going out there and having these technical masterpieces. It may actually get in the way. But I like that Mandy won this match, you know, mostly on her own. It was a triple threat match, but she won mostly on her own. And it made her really strong. So this was excellent. This was excellent. And even though I was talking out of both sides of my mouth, I was saying that Blair Davenport should probably win this match, but also Nikita Lyons needs to be the one that beats Mandy Rose. I understand both of those things couldn't happen at the same time, but I'm glad that Shawn and Triple H decided to go with Nikita Lyons is going to beat Mandy Rose and take the NXT title. But so that works for me. But so Mandy winning works for me. You know, it would have been an opportunity. Now, Blair Davenport, what do you do with her? I think you just pull her right on out of NXT. Just snatch her right on out. Put her with Bayley. That's what I would do. I would put her with Bayley. Why? I think that on her own, she is fine, but I think she could use somebody else with her. And if you're not going to use somebody like, let's say, Triple H, and he probably should, re-sign Paige and do something with her. Or if you want to, team up Blair Davenport and Shotzi, I think that would be pretty good. There's a place for her on the main roster if she is not going to get the push in NXT. And clearly she's not going to. Because, again, we've already discussed this. Nikita Lyons is going to be the one that's going to beat Mandy Rose. So maybe they'll do Blair Davenport versus Nikita Lyons and have Nikita Lyons beat her and send Blair Davenport to the main roster, which is, I think, inevitable. But I think in the ring, Blair Davenport is ready. I think the problem is her character. And, she lacks motivation. She lacks uniqueness. But she has a unique sort of look and a sort of background. And she has enough experience that she can really work on the WWE's main roster. But when you look at, especially the talent that might be returning, Charlotte and Sasha and Naomi, if they come back. Charlotte definitely is coming back. I'm talking about the other two. Then I think you should probably utilize her for the tag division for a while. I think Sonya Deville could use a great partner. And I think Blair Davenport would be great as a partner for Sonya Deville. And I like that idea. I like her getting out of NXT, going to the main roster. Meiko Satomura, I don't see her hanging around NXT. She's going to probably be a coach backstage somewhere. But Mandy Rose winning was absolutely the right decision. The NXT Women's Tag Team Championships, Katana Chance and Kaden Carter defeat Doudrop and Nikki Ash. I mean, this was a given. This match was filler. I didn't like it, didn't hate it. It was just kind of there. Toxic Attraction helped. They were a distraction for Doudrop and Nikki. Maybe they'll lead to a match between Toxic Attraction versus Nikki Ash and Doudrop. But the question remains, how long are they going to be in NXT? It seemed like, again, Mandy Rose dipped into the fountain of youth when she fell into NXT, and she came out a completely different person. It might be time to do something similar with Doudrop and Nikki Ash, where we throw them into the lake of reincarnation, and they come out as completely different people. I maintain that that's for the best. Keep them down in NXT until we figure out what to do with them. And we can't go back to Nikki Cross because we already got a Cross. So what do? I don't know. Nikki something else. I don't know. Come up with something else. But she got to get out of this superhero stuff. A heel superhero is called a supervillain, and she's not even playing into that role. She's not even really being delusional anymore. She really doesn't talk anymore. But Nikki used to be entertaining. She just was never as over as people thought. I think there was a time when she was very close. Like during the pandemic when she was wrestling Bayley a lot. I think they were very close to pulling the trigger on Nikki. Because she was getting really over at that point. As the frustrated partner of Alexa Bliss. And then they killed it with this whole superhero thing. I was willing to give it a chance because it was kind of silly and over the top. But people shitted on it. It's too white meat babyface. And then they gave her the belt immediately and killed the whole thing. It didn't do her any favors. And, so that was sad. But Doudrop, I don't know. Maybe they'll get lucky and they'll call back Eva Marie. So they can help her. And Braun Breaker defeats Tyler Bate with one hell of a spear. Hell of a main event. Babyface versus babyface main event. really, just a really good match. Just a solid match. No chicanery, no big storyline coming out of it. Tyler Bate walked down the hall in the history of NXT UK, looking at the ghosts of NXT UK past and saying to himself, by God, mate, I'm about to go out here and fuck it all up. About to have a shot. I'm about to shag this up. Ain't that how they talk? Yeah, baby. But this was a solid match. Very good match. Question is, what's next for Tyler Bate now that he's coughed up the NXT UK belt? I'm guessing he should be the next opponent for Carmelo Hayes. To me, that seemed like that would be a smart move. Except for, you know, instead of throwing him into that situation, we should probably build a storyline between the two of them. And maybe Tyler Bate is the guy who takes the North American belt from Carmelo Hayes, man. Tyler Bate is a good all-around pro wrestler who is very short and has no discernible character or no discernible motivation, no discernible voice. And he'll easily get lost in the shuffle. And I know I'm still looking at things like, oh, Triple H, he's different from Vince. Vince doesn't, you know, Triple H doesn't mind having a guy on the roster with no character, no motivations or whatever, and putting them over. Look what he's doing with Johnny Gargano. I get that. You know, I get that people understand that, and I'm thinking about things from, you know, the Vince McMahon situation. But a lot of those people who are from Vince McMahon's team is still there. You know, a lot of those guys are going to be like, Triple H, man, what are you doing? Like this little English guy, there's nothing about him that stands out. Outside of maybe putting him in the tag division, and since they got rid of Trent Seven, having Mustache Mountain on the tag division would have worked. But since they got rid of his partner, they have to team him up with somebody else. Maybe Butch, maybe, but I don't see why you couldn't do Butch and Ridge Holland as a tag team. You know, that's just me though. You know, I'm always saying that Triple H's new interest in tag team wrestling could save a lot of the smaller, more underdeveloped talent. Some of the people who haven't got a lot of time in the company. But that roster is bloated. Now, all three of the rosters are bloated in WWE. You know, there's just nowhere to put more people. You know, like, I know it seemed like the roster is thin. But no, the roster is bloated. And you have so many people who just don't have any discernible characters or motivations or anything like that, that maybe that's where your focus should be. Your focus should be on trying to find voices and motivations and characters for these people so that, you know, they'll be more interesting on TV rather than just picking up more and more bodies. That's the Tony Khan problem. We're just going to pick up more and more and more bodies and just not focus too much on character development and character motivation. NXT has absolutely, and NXT UK more than anything, has failed the ability to create and augment characters. Gunther works because Imperium has a mission statement. Imperium has a specific look, a specific voice. They do things a specific way, and WWE has found a way to just go with that, you know, go with Imperium. But everything else on NXT UK was just mediocre British European guy comes out there, has good match. That's not going to work. And now we see some of these people being brought over to NXT proper, and they just languish. Like Alba Fire, she just hangs around. It's like, okay, now we have something for Alba Fire to do. She's different. She stands out. She has a different voice. She has different character. Good. Great job. Thumbs up. Good for you for doing that. But now you got Blair Davenport. Now you got Tyler Bate. Now you got Gallus. Now you got a bunch of other guys that are on this roster that you have to, you know, you got to put some kick behind. And, you know, now you've separated Damon Kemp from Diamond Mine. He has to have his own voice, his own character, his own motivations and stuff now. I'm very interested in where we're going with him. So, Tyler Bate, Ricochet, Tony D'Angelo, all of those guys, it's good to have them. You know, it's good to have them on your roster, but what are we going to do with them? You know, where do they go from here? A guy like Carmelo Hayes, I think as soon as he drops that North American belt, we move him to the main roster and then let the kid ride. You know, I think he should just take Ricochet's spot on SmackDown. Just swap him. You know, like, you know, Ricochet comes to NXT and we send Carmelo Hayes to SmackDown and we just like pretend like we didn't swap him, you know, like he's always been there. But this show was actually very good. You know, I can't really complain about it. It went by fast, got a lot done. Yes, it was kind of, everybody knew what was going to happen. Yeah, I kind of agree with you. It's like, oh, everybody knew that Mandy was probably not going to lose or Braun was probably not going to lose. I get it. But it was still an entertaining show, and I had fun with it. Let me know what you guys think. Like, share, subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later, man. Peace out.